talking about, you know, the Q drops and how this ties in, listening to John and the DPH guys. You guys are way more in tune, but people are waking up in masses, and I absolutely freaking love it. Yes,
Yeah,
he does use better words. He is a master. He is a cunning linguist. We used that term last time.
Yeah, it's that. And I'm in the same place as you. What did I say to you right before the show, right before we came on air, man? I said, look, from where I sit as a Q guy and being involved with this stuff from the get-go, it's one of two things with no middle ground. Either A, we've all been walked off the cliff and we're predominantly screwed, or B, it's all true and they're predominantly screwed.
Yeah.
I don't feel it's the former. I feel it's the latter. But there's no middle ground. There's this is it. This is going to come to a head soon. Either we're going to be under communistic rule for the rest of our lifetimes, or we're going to stave off this attempt to take over this country. There's no middle ground.
He's a cunning linguist and a master debater. That can't be coincidence that those two things go like that. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's jump into that. I just want to play this clip right here. I'm going to actually turn the volume down because, well, no, I'll leave it up. Screw it. This was President Trump coming back to Mar-a-Lago yesterday to a hero's welcome. There he is hanging out of the car. Look at that, man. Look at this. This is Palm Beach County, folks. It is ocean blue in Palm Beach County. Ocean blue. Dude, that's huge, man.
It's insane. Tell me again why it had to be this way, man.
I know.
That's exactly why, because there's no other way this kind of support was going to be garnered for him other than organically and by watching him get his ass kicked while fighting for America and do the right thing. And now the support is just exponentially coming up for him because people, whether or not they want to admit it right now, are seeing what he's been through, and he's starting to resonate with a lot of people. And Facebook is kind of one of my barometers because I've talked about this before. I don't hit my Facebook with a lot of red pills. At least I haven't until recently. And I've started dropping a lot of the same stuff that I'll drop on my social medias onto Facebook, and the reactions are surprising me. I'm getting a lot more likes and loves on the stuff than I would have imagined. I'm getting comments from people I never would have imagined would say, this is enough, I'm voting for Trump. So Facebook is kind of my barometer, and if that's my barometer of where the normies are in the wake up, they're definitely coming along, man, because I don't think I could have posted that kind of stuff even a year ago and gotten those kind of replies or interactions on it. I really don't.
You know, I just real quick, and we'll move on. Just a real quick anecdote. My wife's best friend is apolitical, like my wife, but she is a LGBTQ supporter, that kind of thing. Her fiance is more like me. He's a Army sniper. I was a Marine, so we kind of have a little rapport there. But she was like, Biden, like loving on Biden and F Trump and all this stuff, and then we got to the conversation one day where I had This Book is Gay on my coffee table, and I showed it to her and told her about the schools, and I showed her some of the parents talking at public comments, like are in the Time of Deceit documentary that Badlands put out. And I showed her all this, and she's like, whoa, kind of a little bit of a red pill right there. And then this past weekend, we were out at the lake on the jet skis, and we were talking about this, and the Trump trial came up, and I explained to her what they did in the Trump trial, and she's like, no way. And she's a paralegal, so she works for an attorney. And she's like, no way. And she texted her boss and was like, is this true? And he's like, yeah, unfortunately it is. And she's like, holy shit, go Trump. And I was like, whoa. Now, I don't know if that's vote for him, but
that's another facet folks are missing too, is all the people across this country that are involved in the legal system. They might be far lefties, we don't know, but there are people in the legal system that don't like Donald Trump, except they swore an oath to uphold the law in our justice system, and they're serious about that.
Yeah.
So despite their political leanings, they see what's happening to Trump, and they're going, no. This is not right. I don't care if he's your political enemy or not. You cannot weaponize the justice system, and people are seeing this.
Yeah. Let's jump into this truth from President Trump. He said the sentencing for not having done anything wrong will be convenient for the fascists. I love that he's calling them fascists. I love it. Folks, anytime somebody calls you a fascist or Trump a fascist or whatever it is, just politely question them. What does Trump do that's fascist? Please explain to me. And then have your list ready to go, locking him up, COVID face diapers, the vaccine mandates, all that. 4 days before the Republican National Convention, a radical left Soros-backed DA who ran on a platform of I will get Trump, reporting to an acting local judge appointed by the Democrats who is highly conflicted, will make a decision which will determine the future of our nation? Question mark. The United States Supreme Court must decide. Very interesting. Obviously, that contradicts what I was saying, that I don't want it to go straight to the Supreme Court. Trump apparently does, which is fine. I'm sure he's got way more knowledge on this than I do. The inner workings of everything going on. So I respect that. And if it goes straight to the Supreme Court, I'm okay with it. I just would really like to see it go to the New York Court of Appeals and give them a chance to, kind of exonerate themselves.
Yeah, I think that perhaps there Trump was laying some groundwork and foundation for where it's going to end up, kind of giving a little bit of foreshadowing where it's going to go and probably what's going to happen when it gets there. We've seen with various big consequential cases, the Supreme Court is more often than not kind of sided with his values. Roe versus Wade being an example there, some of the gun stuff being an example. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens and exactly how it gets there. We know it's eventually going to get there. How does it get there? What's that path look like? Because I don't have any faith that the New York Criminal Court of Appeals is going to overturn it. They're probably in the bag too. But I'm a big fan of your stance there. Let's see what they do, and if they choose to hop on the wagon too and uphold it, then you've just kind of marked yourselves as being communist traitors as well. So whichever way it goes, we're in a point of exposure right now where all the traitors need to be rounded up. All these people need to be exposed, not necessarily rounded up. I'm going to watch my words there, but they need to be exposed. They need to be shown for what they are. And we've been getting a heavy dose of that this year, and I don't think it's done by a damn sight.
Yep. Let's jump into this unsuspecting ally that Trump got in this decision. Thank you to Boris Johnson. Quote from Boris Johnson: "This was a machine gun mob style hit on Trump. It was nakedly political and will make his victory more likely, not less." He goes on to say it was nakedly political. It was completely artificial. The Democrat prosecutors thought they were being so clever, tripping Trump up over this technicality, like collaring Al Capone for tax evasion. They probably told themselves, except that everyone with any common sense can see what I consider their real motives, how they were combing the rule book for stuff to use against Trump. The vast mass of American voters could see what I believe was really happening, that the liberal elites were just appalled at Trump's continuing popularity and his ability to connect with voters, and they were using anything they could find to derail his campaign. That is why the anti-Trump lawfare is backfiring. Wow, what a statement.
Yep. Woo. That's basically just told you what's going on. That was like, to me, that's not comms. That's not read between the lines. That's not try to figure out what he's saying. He's literally telling you what's going on with that truth right there.
I mean, from Boris Johnson. I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, he is a traditional conservative, I guess, in Britain, but man, dude, for somebody on that level to come out with that type of, not just like saying like I think this is BS or whatever, but like going after it like that, he knows where the political winds in this country are shifting.
Yeah, absolutely, he does. And I've said before in the past that I think Boris is kind of a low key ally to Trump and has kind of been playing a role in a game. I know he did some stuff over in the UK that wasn't necessarily smiled upon, but when you look at the COVID stuff and then you look at his parties, it's kind of the same thing as Trump. He put himself out there to expose what all these rich elite assholes were doing in the UK, telling you to stay home, but they're all partying. And I've got a friend over in the UK too that seems to be in the same line of thinking, that Boris Johnson over there was kind of attacked locally the same way that Trump was, and had this weird wife with all these ties to Clinton, whatever. But more often than not, Boris Johnson's had Trump's back, and he's supported him and stood behind him, especially here. And this is, we're kind of seeing this after the fact too, is all these people coming out of the woodworks to support Trump. And me and JB over on Sports Talk have been calling it a summer of correction, where you're going to see a lot of people come out and endorse him and support him that have been quiet over the last few years, and that's probably by design. But after the conviction, you saw Brian Urlacher take to Twitter almost immediately and say, "Yeah, no, I've got this dude's back. I'm voting for him." Urlacher is not a small name in the football world if you're a football fan. Okay.
Especially a Packer fan.
Right. You saw
Many a
the
bad
day
dream.
after Miriam Adelson, the majority owner of the Dallas Mavericks, say, "I'm pledging $100 million to him." Okay. It's starting to turn. Like these people are starting to come out and speak their support for Trump, and that's only going to continue as we head toward the election. I think there's probably some surprises in store as well, insofar as people we're going to see come out and support Trump on a big stage, not just like B-level celebrities or the guy that's riding the bench for your favorite sports team, but I think we're going to see some major figures across all avenues come out and say, this is garbage, I got Trump's back. And we've certainly started to see that simmer for sure.
Yeah, to the Boris Johnson and Europe thing, even though they're not part of the EU anymore, to that point we just covered the article about the far right, winning in the polls. That's the populist movement. It's conservative populism in Europe that's winning. We've seen the protests throughout the Netherlands, throughout France, the farmer protests, the strikes over their climate agenda, the Marxist climate agenda, communist climate agenda, the rise of the Alternative for Germany party, the AfD, and they're literally going after that party the same way they're going after Trump, trying to keep that party from being able to have any influence in Germany. So you're seeing it all over the place. Now, I want to get into this clip here because, Paul, you're going to love this clip right here. And this is where Napolitano Judge Napolitano ties back into this. This was just a short little clip of Trump sitting down with Hegseth and some of the Fox friends.
Would you declassify the 9/11 files?
Yeah.
Would you declassify JFK files?
Yeah. I did a lot of it.
Would you declassify the Epstein files?
Yeah, I would.
Attorney General.
All right. So I want to go back. That's a 90-minute interview. I didn't know it was that long. I want to go back and listen to the whole thing. JFK files, 9/11, and Epstein. He was reluctant on the Epstein, which is a little bit worrisome, but he was quick on 9/11 and JFK. Both of those situations right there. I mean, JFK, Napolitano comes back in because he famously, Napolitano said that Trump told him he would release him at the end of his presidency. Trump said that he promised that he would, and Napolitano said he'll hold him to it. Trump said, I hope you do. And then when he did hold him to it, Napolitano says that Trump told him, I couldn't release it. If you would have seen what was in those files, you couldn't have done it either. Now he's kind of flipped script on that, and he's saying, we're putting it out there, as well as the 9/11 stuff, which a lot of people are going to be wrapped up and implicated if the truth about 9/11 comes out. What do you think?
Well, there's multiple reasons for this, I think. Number one, I align with Kyle's theory belief that what he meant there when people weren't ready yet, and if you saw what I saw, you wouldn't do it yet. It's because the media is not there. You can't release the stuff if the media is just going to bury it for the public and it's going to be out of the news cycle in a week. And you can't release it if you've still got a ton of people in power positions that are going to work their way against it to hide that truth. So him saying that he's going to full on release this stuff as one of his first acts in office tells me two things. Number one, the media is getting close to a point of being completely drowned out to where nobody listens to them. So you don't have to worry about them dogging down